Hello, this is a message to let you know that my podcast Billions is now properly up and running. The podcast delves into the lives and stories of those who have stood out in the billions of people that we share the earth with. You can listen to episode 1 and 2 on the greatest boxer of all time, Muhammad Ali, and also my latest episode on the greatest basketball player there has ever been, Michael Jordan. If you want to listen to Billions, just search Billions with Darren Rees on any podcast platform, or have a look at the description for this episode. You will find the relevant links to get to the podcast there. Welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees. And welcome to day 2 of Barca-Week. Episode 1 of Barcelona Week was on the legendary academy La Masia. In this episode, we are going to be talking about a Barcelona great, a third of the Ronaldinho and Messi trio, and a Cameroon legend. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Samuel Eto'o. Before we get into this episode properly, a massive thank you goes to everyone who has got involved in the Spotify Q&As, in particular the Q&A on the La Masia episode, which was released just yesterday. I asked you who the biggest Barca legend was, and I think it's fair to say that Messi wins that one. If you listen on Spotify, make sure you get involved in the Q&A for this episode. Right then, let's get into this episode on Samuel Eto'o. Samuel Eto'o was born in Cameroon on the 10th of March in 1981. He has 2 brothers who both turned out to be professional footballers. Samuel's brother David played for the likes of Mallorca and represented the Cameroon national side, and his brother Etienne also played for Mallorca. The Eto'o brothers clearly had a talent for football, and it ran in their blood. As you can imagine, with 3 football-mad boys and plenty of time on their hands, the Eto'o brothers would be playing football endlessly, improving their skills and building their bond with each other. It seemed that Samuel was the most gifted one out of the 3, as he went to train in an academy in Cameroon before being picked up to play and train at the Real Madrid Youth Academy when he was just 15 years old. Samuel has always achieved young, and when he was 15 years old, he made his first appearance for the Cameroon national side. And in the year after, at the France 1998 World Cup, Samuel Eto'o was on the squad for Cameroon. Samuel Eto'o's senior debut came from playing with Real Madrid. Not a bad place to make your debut after all. However, although he was in the academy and he turned over to be a senior player at Real, he spent much of his time being loaned out to other clubs until he made the move to Mallorca. Mallorca knew what a talented player Samuel Eto'o was, and they paid more for him than they'd ever paid for a player in the past, and that was a reported €4.4 million. La Liga, the top division in Spain, is a tough league to play in, and it always has been. The likes of Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid and Barcelona have dominated the league for a long time. In fact, over the past 20 years, they are the only 3 teams to have won it. The last team other than them to win it was Valencia in the 2003 to 2004 season. Although it was a tough league and a league full of extremely talented players, Eto'o for Mallorca was scoring goals galore, And because of this, he drew a lot of attention, and the attention was certainly for all the right reasons. This guy was still so young and scoring against the top goalkeepers and the top teams in the top division in Spain. Eto'o wasn't just a fantastic footballer at Mallorca, but he was loved and respected by the fans as well. He did some great things on the football pitch, but some even better things off of it. Mallorca once made it to the world-famous Copa del Rey final, and thousands upon thousands of Mallorca fans travelled to support their team. Samuel Eto'o donated €30,000 to pay for the meals of those travelling fans, as a way of saying thank you for supporting him and his team. This certainly went down well with the supporters, but it also captured the eye of the media, and the story was well received around Spain and across the rest of the footballing world. Eto'o wasn't just a good footballer, but he was a good person, and that is really important. After playing in 5 seasons for Mallorca, it was time for Samuel Eto'o to move on to the next part of his journey. At 23, he had already achieved so much, but the truth is, he hadn't really got started yet. Eto'o joined the world-famous FC Barcelona in the 2004 season, where he would play with legends like Victor Valdez and Ronaldinho. Oh, and this other fella, you might have heard of him. He was Argentinian. What was his name? Yeah, that was it. Lionel Messi. Eto'o was heading into the Barcelona team with a reputation, and with the record of being Mallorca's all-time league top goal scorer. And for the record, he still holds the record today. Blimey, how many times have I said record? Eto'o was simply sensational at Barcelona. The way that he effortlessly cruised across the pitch, gliding past players, was quite magical. Samuel Eto'o scored some marvellous goals at Barca, but unlike many other players, there wasn't just one type of goal that he scored. He wasn't a goal hanger that tapped them in the 6-yard box every time. He wasn't just good at headers or volleys. He didn't just score screamers from outside the box or lob goalkeepers when they came off their line. He scored goals in all sorts of different ways in pretty much every single game that he played. He was so unpredictable, but because of that made him so very good. Now, we can't talk about Samuel Eto'o's time at Barcelona without talking about one of the most formidable trios the sport has ever seen. Ronaldinho, Lionel Messi and Samuel Eto'o. I'll repeat that, shall I? Ronaldinho, Lionel Messi and Samuel Eto'o. The names alone are ridiculous. Can you, for a second, just imagine how good these three were together on a football pitch? Can you imagine the fear that the defenders and goalkeepers faced when this lot were going towards their goal? This trio was quite special, and the goals they scored between the three of them were something else. Samuel Eto'o spent 5 seasons with Barcelona. He won the La Liga 2 years in a row, and 3 times in total. He won the Champions League with the club twice, and the Spanish Copa del Rey as well. In total, he played around 200 games for Barca. He assisted over 100 goals and scored well over 100 of his own. Samuel Eto'o will go down as a proper Barcelona legend and someone who the fans will never forget. After 5 seasons with Barca, Eto'o moved from Spain to Italy and from Barcelona to Inter Milan to play in the Italian top division. Eto'o spent 2 seasons at Inter, and in his 2 seasons with the club, he was a huge part in Inter, winning the treble for the first time, but also being the first Italian team to win the Coppa Italia, Serie A and the Champions League, all in 1 season. With Samuel Eto'o, Inter Milan were on fire. Now, I've got to tell you the truth. On this podcast, in the past, I've done my absolute best to describe some goals to you over the 160 episodes which I've made. But Samuel Eto'o's goals, I just can't do them justice. All I can say is you've got to go and watch them for yourself. His goals for Inter Milan will blow your mind and make you doubt your eyes. The speed and sharpness of his turns and the urgency of his shots are like no other player on earth. Eto'o won numerous trophies and awards with Inter, and the end of his club career was spent at a mixture of clubs, but he wasn't at any of them for very long. He spent some time in the Russian football leagues, he spent some time at Everton, he spent some time at Chelsea, he spent some time in a Turkish team, and he spent some time in all sorts of places before hanging his boots up and calling it a day. I mentioned earlier that Eto'o played for his country of Cameroon at just 15 years old. 15 years old and playing for your country. What an achievement. But Eto'o continued representing Cameroon until he was 33 years old. He won the Africa Cup of Nations twice with his country and won a gold medal at the Olympic Games. Samuel Eto'o isn't just a legend for the likes of Mallorca, Barca or Inter, but he's simply a footballing legend overall, and a player that stole the hearts of football fans from the moment he stepped on the pitch until he stepped off of it for the last time. I hope that you've enjoyed listening and learning about the career and story of the legend that is Samuel Eto'o. And remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about Football for Kids. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.